Well, I mean, think about it for a second. I mean, look at the incidents of violence or horrible things happening at an airport versus a school. We have far more deaths in our schools than we do at the airport. I don't know. I can't think of any recent. I mean, it has happened in the past, but I don't know any time in the U.S. recently where anyone's gone into an airport and shot it up or anything like that. The last terrorist bombing that we had of a plane in the United States was 9/11 23 years ago. Um, and we've had how many hundreds of school shootings since that time? Yet we take the airport threat far more serious. Don't say it, can't do it. And of course, no one should do it. But when it comes to the schools with innocent little kids, it's like, well, they kind of said it. Maybe they mean it. Maybe they don't. I feel like our priorities are very messed up here in terms of reality and what we take seriously and what we don't.
Yeah, no, I feel you. And I think perhaps a commonality between the airport and the school shooting context is the risk of mass casualty. And when there is that risk present, even if it hasn't happened for a long time, we got to take it super seriously. And when I'm flying, or going to the airport, I absolutely want them to take everything seriously, even if, thank heavens, there hasn't been such an incident.
Sure.
Where looking at the school shooting context, that's even more justification to take those threats more seriously than perhaps some offhand remark in a completely different context, a work scenario or a bar, leisure scenario,
Mhm.
whatever.
And obviously, I mean, this is not intended to be an argument about gun control or anything like that. People can have guns. I'm not against that. I own guns. I don't really shoot, but they're there if the world ends and I need to defend myself. And I know people are there and they like to hunt, and that's fine. I'm from a culture where that goes on all the time. Um, but when I was a kid, I mean, I guess I had a good amount of responsible parents around us where the kids didn't just have access to the weapons. It was interesting watching that video of Colin Gray on the porch with the officers. And does he have access to the weapons? Well, yeah, he does. And I'll do something about it if the threat's credible. If not, yeah, you can have act like what is going on here where people feel that their children need to be indoctrinated into learning how to use an AR at the age of 8. And I mean, I get if you can go hunting, then let them have the gun while they are hunting. After that, it is locked back up. You do not have access to it. I know there are some laws in some states, but they've not been adopted in most. Is that another area where we really have to take a serious look at that? I don't know. Do we need to do spot checks? Do we need to do things like we're not taking your guns? But are you handling them safely? Are you handling them correctly? Almost like a DUI check, on an interstate on a very heavy drinking day like New Year's, where look, you kind of got a record over here, your kids kind of got a record. We may just show up every now and then to make sure that your guns are in a safe place. Or if you have a person in your home that has been diagnosed with something or is on the radar, sorry, you don't get guns anymore.
There are similar measures that have been instituted, not quite to that extent, but in Colorado, for example, we have this red flag law where I practice, and it essentially says if someone is you think is experiencing a mental health issue and has some danger with respect to guns, a person can report that, and it goes to the courts almost immediately, and the court decides whether to divest the individual accused of their firearms for a limited period of time. And so I think there are different options that other locales are considering. Certainly not a perfect solution. I think that allowing the government into people's homes to just kind of check up on them and their firearms, while it might be a preventative and safe measure, it's also potentially ripe for abuse. And so, where is that middle ground, and where do we get to a place where we don't have every few weeks the headlines of kids being shot dead at schools?
Let me ask you about the red flag law in Colorado and how it works. Obviously, I mean, one could want revenge on somebody and just report this person has a mental health problem and they have guns, and then how does it work? How in depth of a review do they do before deciding we got to make a little stop over here and take these guns from this person because they're a danger to themselves and others?
Well, it's a relatively new law, so it's still sort of different judges are kind of handling it differently, interpreting it differently. But it's a pretty short period of time in terms of accusation to a judge ruling on whether to take somebody's guns away temporarily. And usually it's not like a full trial that happens or anything like that. It's usually a hearing where the accuser comes in and presents some information, and the judge essentially decides, hey, is there enough here to put a stop on this for the time being? And then after that, the accused gets a further opportunity to sort of present evidence saying, "Hey, I'm not a danger. I'm fine. I should be able to have my guns." But it's kind of a touch and go thing, and not something that's overly in depth or comprehensive.
Hmm. It's fascinating because we have all these sayings, obviously thoughts and prayers, which is just bullshit. But the see something, say something, which I also kind of feel is getting to be a bit bullshit. Because people did in this case. A lot of people saw something and said something. The part that's missing is do something. It's see something, say, okay, great. We all feel good. We set our part. We let the world know, and nothing happens half the time. We're missing that part of the equation. And I guess that's where we're trying to figure out here in our conversation of how to save the world between you and me. Uh, but that's the part that's missing, is to do something. And I don't know the answer. I know you don't know the answer. Do you think we're getting any closer to coming up with some sort of solution? I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, there's going to be people that are upset. They're going to say this is violating their constitutional rights, no matter how reasonable it may be.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think what we are hoping to look at is the interval of time between this initial 2023 accusation against the school shooter and then the actual school shooting in 2024. What happened in that interval? Was the school notified of the 2023 accusation? Did the school take any measures like additional supervision, or offering counseling services, or kind of monitoring this kid a little more closely? Is there something that we can do to get the parents involved in a collaborative process with the schools and perhaps counselors to be a little more hands-on, a little bit more attentive in terms of what the risks and concerns are, and also what resources are providing to these would-be school shooters, when we might be able to prevent that sort of thing if intervention is taken swiftly and effectively. Now, I don't know exactly the parameters of that intervention, but I think that we can all kind of put our heads together and hopefully improve this society and prevent this from happening.
Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.